Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Jackie. Welcome back to the video. This week I'm bringing you guys a very chit-chatty one. I'm basically just going to give you the rundown on sjsu and what to know before actually accepting the offer letter. Before we get into it, just make sure to keep in mind that these are all my personal experiences, so everyone's experience may be different when attending the school, especially because I did join the school when it was literally like the midst of COVID. Just keep that in mind. But without any further ado, let's just go ahead and jump right into this week's video. First things first, I'm gonna go ahead and talk a little bit about myself just so you guys can see where I'm coming from my perspective. I'm currently a junior standing, technically a second-year sophomore, majoring in advertising with a concentration in marketing communications. That being said, I haven't graduated from the school yet, so obviously throughout the years I'll experience more things, and hopefully at the end of my college career I can give you guys just like a whole recap on sjsu from beginning to finish. But I'm basically just going to give you the rundown of the time that I've had throughout college. So I have a couple of different categories that I'm going to go ahead and touch on. These are basically just categories that you generally look into when considering different schools and deciding which one you actually want to spend the next 4 or 2 years at. The first category I'm going to go ahead and touch on is actually going to be the campus as a whole and what it physically has to offer. When it comes to the physical campus, what you want to know is that the campus is pretty compact and flat. It's fairly easy to walk from one end to the other, which honestly makes going to different classes, makes going to different areas of the campus super easy. I would honestly say it only takes like 20 minutes to walk from one side to the other, which is a huge comparison to maybe like Cal Poly, for example, which I know can stretch for, I don't know, a mile or two or even more, I want to say. And it's a pretty hilly campus, which makes walking seriously a chore. Besides the general campus layout, the university also offers so many amenities just within the campus. The first thing, of course, many other universities have, but it's really important when it comes to wanting to eat food outside the dining commons, which is actually the food court. sjsu offers a whole bunch of different food options, whether it be Panda Express, Subway, Jamba Juice, Taco Bell. Those are like the main name brand food places they have, but they also have a whole bunch of other little like smaller business food places on campus, such as a pizza place, a boba place. So honestly, you're never gonna get hungry on campus. They also offer a bowling alley in the student union, which honestly I would say is pretty cool compared to a lot of other schools. You get a student discount on top of that, which makes bowling fairly cheap because honestly I would say that bowling is kind of expensive, as well as offering an updated gym, which I believe was actually being built when I was touring the school like 4 years ago, I want to say. And then within that gym they also have a pool that you can actually go and lounge out at. I haven't actually had the chance to do so, but I hope once it gets hotter I can actually go, because it seems like such a nice place to tan and also just hang out with friends in. And they have so many other amenities on campus, but I would say those are like the main general ones. So I would say the amenities that you're paying for when you do pay like the tuition and fees are definitely worth it. Campus as a whole physically has so many benefits, and that's what makes it so fun to be at. The next thing you may be considering when looking at different universities might be the housing situation. I know that if you're attending like a UC in California or just other California schools, you may have a tough time finding housing in the area that you're attending school at, or even just finding housing in the dorms at that school. But I would say that sjsu makes it fairly easy to find housing, whether it be within the general area or even at the school. sjsu offers so many dorm options. They have, I want to say like 4 different freshman housing options, and then it would be 1 housing option for sophomores and then 2 housing options if you are just older than a freshman. So compared to a lot of other schools, like I was looking at Fullerton when I was debating on what school I wanted to attend, and they only had 1 freshman building. So that obviously compared to sjsu made me lean more towards sjsu. But I would say if you do want to secure housing and actually have that dorm secured, I would pounce on that housing application and get it in as soon as possible. But obviously you may not want to live on campus with all those on-campus living fees, and it also being only a 10-month lease compared to like a 12-month lease that you can find outside of campus. And that being said, there are tons of housing options within the area if you seriously just look for them, and they're honestly fairly cheap compared to living in the dorms. On the higher end, if you do have a higher budget, you can actually stay in a student living apartment, and a couple options would be like the Grad 27 North. I believe there's a new one being made called Sparta 505. They're definitely on the higher end, and I honestly do not have the money to live in one of those. But when you're comparing that price to the 10-month lease and you do the math, it's definitely cheaper month to month living in one of those. But obviously if you don't have like $1,100 plus to live in one of those student living apartments, you can also settle for other apartments within the area or just houses for rent. I'm currently living in a house 8 minutes away from campus, so I definitely have had the experience of looking for off-campus housing, and I would say the process is pretty easy because if you look at the Sammy app, which is something that you'll get involved into once you actually accept your offer into the school, on a daily basis people are putting out like housing posts and looking for roommates. Like yes, it may be taken super fast, but if you're on top of it, then you can definitely secure a place in an apartment or house before the school year starts. And there are definitely pros and cons to living like in an apartment, in a dorm, in a house. If you do want me to make like a specific video on that, I'll definitely be sure to do do so, especially once I get experience living in the dorm, because I will be next school year as an RA, which is also a job that you can actually apply for once you are involved in the school. So it's definitely a great way to save money on housing. Like I said, if you guys do want a video on that, make sure to give the video a thumbs up, and I'll definitely do one once I get some experience living in the dorms. All in all, that being said, housing is pretty easy to find within the San Jose area. Yes, of course, you're going to be paying a whole lot more because you are literally in the Silicon Valley, but there are ways around that. And if you do want to make the commitment to live in San Jose, there are so many options for you out there. Quick little sip break. Next category I'm going to go ahead and get into is actually going to be the social life at SJSU. I would say like 60% of SJSU's population pretty much consists of commuters. So if you're looking for that full-blown school spirit every single night of the week, SJSU is probably not for you. Yes, I would say there's a bit of school spirit when it comes to homecoming events on campus or tabling on 7th Street, but for the most part, it's not like there's a school-wide rager happening every single weekend, which is something that you might find at like SDSU or something. That being said, I feel like from my perspective, it's pretty hard to make friends at SJSU if you're not involving yourself in sorority life or joining like a really tight-knit club on campus. And that's just because people who aren't doing that stuff are really just at SJSU for the education. Like obviously I'm there too for the education, but those people are mainly just going to school or going to class and then leaving straight after to beat rush hour to get home, or maybe just heading straight to their jobs that they're going to spend the rest of the day at. So if people aren't involving themselves into these clubs or organizations, they're pretty much just not going to have a lot of time to make friends and actually make time to hang out with friends. So when it comes to myself, I would obviously love to join sorority life, but honestly I do not have the money to pay for all of those fees, and that's why I've actually involved myself in other stuff just to actually make friends, because it's pretty hard to on campus. For example, I'm currently a pink campus rep at my school, and through that I have bonded so much with my co-rep Nikki and seriously developed a great friendship with her. And then I've also created friendships with the people on my campus teams that I have formed throughout this year, hoping to do so more next year. And then besides that, I was actually on her campus at SJSU for a year, which honestly was very heavily during COVID time. So honestly, because of that, I was not able to bond a lot with the girls. But if you actually do take the time and are able to join these organizations and be at events in real life and actually do bonding things with people in real life, then I feel like you'll actually be able to form a connection with people and create friends that way. And if you're curious on what clubs they have to offer on campus before you actually accept getting into SJSU, you can actually look at the SJSU clubs page and search through all the clubs and see anything you'd like to be interested in, and you can actually join it as soon as you come to campus, because they do a whole bunch of club tabling. So there are definitely ways to make a social life out of the very much non-existent social life at SJSU. You honestly just have to find your way, because a lot of friends aren't really going to come your way at SJSU, I feel like, just out of nowhere. But that's honestly from my own personal opinion. The next category that you may be considering when you're looking into SJSU may be how easy it is to find on-campus jobs, because especially if you're living on campus or don't have a car and live near campus, it's kind of hard to find another job that's not on campus. That being said, I feel like SJSU offers so many on-campus jobs, whether it be a student assistant, like a front desk receptionist, working in the food court, working as an intern for a professor or club organization. There are honestly so many opportunities, so you're not really gonna have a hard time finding an on-campus job. And I would say the main way to find them would be through SJSU's Handshake platform, because honestly that's where everyone posts job listings. So literally don't worry about finding a job on campus, because if you're looking for it at the right time, which is especially during the summer before you enter into the new school year, then you're definitely gonna have a simple time looking for those job listings. One last step before I go into the last topic. Last category I'm going to head into is actually going to be the workload at SJSU in terms of academics. Obviously, this differs from major to major. Like, for example, if you're an engineering student, you're probably going to have a heavier workload than me, an advertising student. So definitely take this with a grain of salt and just understand that some majors are, I would say, a little bit harder than others. Like, literally props to you if you're a STEM girly, could not be me. But I'm seriously so proud of all the STEM girlies out there, because you're paving the way. But when it comes to my major specifically, or if you're like in the communications field, I would say that the workload is fairly light. Honestly, the workload in my GE classes was more than the workload in my major classes. Obviously, the workload though does differ from professor to professor, and that's why you always want to look at ratemyprofessors.com no matter what school you're going to. But I have been lucky enough to have really great professors that have not stocked my schedule up with so many assignments that I would not be able to do anything else in my week. So props to them. But when it comes to communications / advertising classes themselves, a lot of them are pretty much just project based. So I've had a really great time getting hands-on experience on tasks that I may be doing in my future job endeavors. So I've been extremely lucky to have such an amazing experience academically, but obviously everyone's experience can be different, but that's pretty much what I have encountered myself when it comes to academic workload. With that, that's pretty much everything that you need to know before attending SJSU and things that I pretty much wish that I knew before getting into the school myself. If you guys have any other topics that you'd like me to talk about, make sure to leave them in the comments down below and I'll make sure to respond to your guys' comments with answers from my own experience and how I view the school myself. And stay tuned for post-grad Jackie because I'll talk about the rest of the tea on SJSU once I'm able to graduate and have more experience in the school, hopefully not in the midst of the pandemic. If you guys did enjoy the video, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up and subscribe down below for new videos every single week. If you want to know exactly what time I do post at, go ahead and click the little bell notification to be notified every time I do post a new video. Follow my socials, I'm very active on those and love interacting with you guys on there. Thank you all so much for watching and I can't wait to see you guys in next week's video because baby, we're going to Coachella. Bye guys!